Good evening. Hello, hello, hello. Make sure that the light is on. We're going to share the broadcast very quickly to everyone. Join us, join us, join us. Join us. Join us. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I want to go ahead and share the broadcast very quickly. Okay. All right, good evening. Tonight, I want to quickly talk about the impact of ignoring red flags. Ignoring red flags. We're going to give it a minute as we let people join in quickly. Ignoring red flags in your relationship and what it does to you. All right, we'll give it a minute. Good evening. How has your day been, guys? I hope your day's been good. All right, so I'm going to jump right in. Ignoring red flags in your relationship can be very, very serious. It can also lead to a number of problems. In fact, a lot of problems. So I want us to talk about how ignoring red flags. What are red flags? Red flags are basically anything in a relationship that should be a point of caution. When we see red, red means stop. We teach that to our children. Red means stop. But instead of us stopping, we end up entertaining. Let me see if I can switch this camera somewhere. Okay. Okay. I don't want this to fall, but I think it's okay. Oh, great. Great, great, great. All right. I lost us on Instagram. Sorry, guys. The Instagram went off. I have to reset it. Wow, it literally just went off. Okay, let me try this again. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. I went live and I literally lost the contact. This is the wrong, I went live and it booted me off. All right, so welcome. Sorry about that. Welcome. Thank you, Facebook, for your patience. All right. So tonight we're talking about the impact of ignoring red flags in any relationship. All right. You can't afford to ignore red flags. And what are red flags? Red flags, again, I said red means stop. And red, we teach our children, when you see red on the street, it means stop. Cars are moving, right? Red means stop. So you're driving, you stop. And you, as a pedestrian, know that if the car stops, then you can go, right? But you're not safe until the cars stop. Red means stop. We know that. Red flags denote anything or any signs within the relationship that should tell you to stop. But because you may be in love, or you may have gotten involved way too deeply, sometimes it's hard to pay attention to red flags. It's hard to really say, oh, okay, let me stop. So last month, which October, the last weekend in October, we talked about domestic violence. And we talk about red flags a lot in domestic violence, because in those relationships, there are clear signs in the beginning of the relationship that someone is abusive. But what happens is, because we're so in love, quote unquote, or in lust, we miss the signs. We purposely overlook those signs. And by doing so, we end up in relationships that end up being very unhealthy. So ignoring the red flags can have serious consequences in the future. All right, let's talk about those consequences. Tonight, we're diving right in. I won't be long. Tonight, I can't be long. All right. I started my day at 3 a.m. Okay. So I'm going to give it to you the way it is and then move on. So red flags. Every relationship has signs at the beginning that tells you, like a thermostat, that tell you what the health status of that relationship is. Every relationship, friendships have a thermostat. Marriage has a thermostat. Even family relationships have thermostats in the beginning that tell you, hi, welcome, that tell you how healthy is the relationship. If you miss the sign or the health status of that relationship, you end up in a situation that ends up being bad for you. Share this broadcast with someone. It ends up being bad for you only because you, the person, chose to overlook. So if you ask anybody who is in a domestically violent relationship, they will tell you, it was like that in the beginning. It's always like that in the beginning. But the signs are subtle. Red flags can be very subtle. So you have to be very discerning. Your antennas have to be up, very, very up, very, very high at the beginning of any relationship. Because the beginning of the relationship is when you need to scrutinize, you need to dissect, you need to really break apart. You really need to discern at the very beginning, what kind of relationship am I engaged in? Because if you miss that very beginning step, again, it's your responsibility. We like to think, oh, they fooled me. Oh, they lied to me. And the most popular one for women is, oh, he misled me. He misled me and slept with me. He misled me and dated me. He misled me and he led me on. No, nobody should be leading you on. It is your responsibility in any relationship to be aware, alert, etc., etc. There are times that we make decisions based on where we are. So it doesn't mean that we didn't see it. I'm going to share the story with you. Years ago, okay? Years ago in my 20s, there was a guy I used to talk to. I liked him. That was not a secret, right? I liked him. He definitely liked me too, but not enough for him to fully commit to me. All right. And sometimes that's the reality. You like somebody, but not enough for you to say, okay, I'm going to change my ways or I'm going to fully commit to them. Sometimes that's the case. So we don't look at it and say, oh, they let me on and they did this and they did that. No, I liked the guy knowing that this guy, although he liked me, he wasn't going to stop whatever he was doing. And I said whatever he was doing because I suspected that there was another girl in the picture. Do you understand? I suspected, guys, I hope you're here. It's going to be a quick one, but at least you will get and capture the knowledge that you need to gain for tonight. So I suspected there was another girl involved, but he never really came out and said it. But I always had very high antennas. Like, I didn't trust easily. Let me just say that. I didn't have trust issues, but I didn't trust easily because I had seen some things in life. So I was naturally on the skeptical side. All right. I did the same thing to my husband when I met him. I was on the skeptical side until I can fully discern correctly. There are times you like someone so much, your discernment is a little shot. You don't discern correctly because you like the person. So the concept of not sleeping with someone and laying with the person, and it's just to protect you. Because when sex comes in the mix, you don't discern correctly. And God forbid the sex is good, then you're struck. You're like love struck, and you can't do anything about what is going on right now. So it's crucial in any relationship that you don't get physical. Always leave the physical side later. Like, if you can help it, wait. But if you can't help it, don't make that be the introduction. Because there are women who just introduce themselves with their bodies, and that doesn't work. It's never been shown to work. I remember a young lady saying to me a long time ago, years ago, a young lady I knew, we used to all hang out, go to parties together. And she talked about how my eyes get really itchy. So, and this hair doesn't help. So, and I remember her saying to me, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter whether you have sex on the first night, the first date, or later. Like, it doesn't matter. If a man likes you, he likes you. I remember her saying that. So she went ahead and she was with this guy. It was clear the guy liked her. He loved her. There was no doubt about that. I mean, she was a beautiful young lady and amazing at that. And so they dated, they got married and everything. Years down the line, he released her for another girl. You understand? I'm not going to tell you that that's the reason. No, that's not what I'm implying. He released her for another girl. But whatever circumstance fought them, she truly believed that the way, like, her beauty and everything was going to keep them. She was very conscious of her beauty. And there are lots of women that are very conscious of their beauty. Like, it's my beauty that's going to keep the man. It's my body that's going to keep him. But that's not true. That really isn't true. So we ignore red flags based on what we think might work for us. Furthermore, if somebody wants to lay you the first day they go on a date with you, that's a red flag. That's someone who is extremely unsafe. Let me just say that. That's a red flag. Nobody is this hot that I just met you today and I will sleep with you. Like, nobody is that hot. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nobody is that hot. But if the person, you feel like this person is so this and that, and it doesn't matter, first day, second day, it doesn't matter, and you overlook these red flags, that can have a tremendous impact on your relationship. And let's talk about that kind of impact that overlooking these red flags can have on your relationship. Emotional distress. You can become extremely distressed as an individual when you ignore red flags. Because what will happen is you see the red flags, you ignore them, but then you become very anxious, you become very stressed out, and even depressed, because you're like, I see the issue. And then you learn to adapt to the issues, learn to walk on eggshells, looking at the issues. You know what you're facing. You know what's there. What you see is what you get. Okay? You don't look at the red flags and say, oh, they're going to change. There's no such thing. Whatever you're seeing right now is whatever it's going to be. But we have a tendency of thinking that, oh, I'm going to change the person. I'm going to influence the person. I'm going to step in. I mean, there is a place where you as an individual, there's a place where you as an individual can impact the person that you're with. There's a place. But for the most part, people change because they want to change. They don't change because you think they should change. You know, they say men marry women hoping they won't change, and the women change. And then women marry men hoping they will change, and they don't change. And then they find out that, oh shoot, what I saw in the beginning. So these red flags are there to protect you. They're kind of like your internal radars that go up and tell you red is hot, temperature is hot. So that you can pause yourself and stop yourself from getting yourself into a situation that you can't answer to. All right. Physical harm. There could be physical harm when you overlook red flags. Red flags could be, like I said, a man wants to lay you the first day he meets. That's a red flag. Physical harm, STDs, right? A man tells you subtly in the beginning, you know, I don't want you hanging out with those friends. They're not good for you, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? It can turn out that he's abusive and he needs you away from your friends so he can do what he's doing. You see, domestic violence thrives in isolation. If you're not isolated, it's hard for someone to abuse you when you're not isolated, because you're around people that will see and that will tell you about it. But once you're isolated, it's hard for you to even bounce ideas off other people and talk about what you may be experiencing. The red flags can ultimately damage your relationship as well. Let me explain why. When the red flags are there, where you can't talk to the person about how you feel, what you want to do, your wishes, your desires, they're there. Eventually, it's going to impact your relationship because you can't talk about what all is going on at any given point. All right. Your friends and family can become concerned about you because they can see the red flags. Ignoring the red flags will cause them to also have issues with you, because they could be talking to you saying, don't go, don't do this, don't do that, he's no good for you, and you're still pushing and shoving. That can create, stress within your relationships. You can strain a relationship, a family relationship, because you won't listen. You can strain a relationship with your, girlfriend, guy friends, because you just won't, listen to the people who love you when it comes to this particular relationship. You can also have difficulty trusting other people in the future. If you've been hurt because you ignore the red flags, when you meet somebody, it can become really difficult to trust them. They may not be abusive, they may not be bad. It could be even with friends. When you meet friends, you have to set your boundaries and really be clear on the type of relationship you want to have. If you overlook it and end up just getting yourself in the relationship, it can become very unhealthy for you to maintain that healthy boundary. So we're talking about the impact of red flags when you ignore red flags in your relationship. Anytime you ignore red flags, it's waiting for you at the other end. Anytime you ignore red flags, there is a danger zone ahead of you, because red flags are there to pause, slow it down, take it easy, for you to discern the level of relationship or type of relationship you have. So when you ignore them in the name of love, later on you pay the price for it. So there are consequences to ignoring red flags. So what am I saying? The Bible tells us, I believe it's in the book of Matthew, it tells us that we should be wise. I'm sending you to the world. You should be wise as serpents, and also what? Calm, collected as doves. You should be very kind and nice as doves, but also recognize that there are wolves right there. I'm sending you as sheep amongst wolves. I think that's the full scripture. I'm sending you as sheep amongst wolves. So be wise as serpents. There are wolves out there. There are friends that want to use you. There are men that want to use you. There are men that don't care for you except to sleep with you. There are men that just want somebody to kick it with. There are men that are not looking for relationships. Yes. And so when you are thrown amongst the wolves, what ends up happening is that now you're broken because you gave yourself up to someone who was not for you. You gave yourself up to somebody who had what? No intent of building a relationship with you. So you must be wise as a serpent. You must be wise. It's important to remember that red flags are there for a reason, to protect you. They're warning signs. Stop, stop, stop. It tells you that there's something wrong. Again, it's the thermometer of the relationship. And usually at the very beginning, when you see them and you ignore them, you're saying that you don't care. You have to talk about the concerns. The concerns are there so you can talk about it. There are people that have abusive tendencies. They are loving, they are great, they are good men, but they have abusive tendencies. When you see the red flags, it doesn't mean the person isn't for you. It could mean that pause and work on this. Pause and see if they're willing to acknowledge the problem so they can work on it. Sometimes it's anger. Sometimes is lack, just inability to, have positive coping skills. People ask me, what is the one thing you will ask a man if you want to get married? What are one of the most important questions? And I tell them, discover his coping mechanisms. If you ask somebody, what is your credit? What is, how do you cope? Blah, blah, blah. They will tell you what they want to tell you. Observe what? Their coping mechanism. There's a temptation to ignore red flags. I'm going to give you some tips so that you don't ignore red flags. What are your coping mechanisms? Coping mechanisms are the way someone responds to life, challenges, situations. Those are coping mechanisms. What happens when this person loses their job? What happens when a family member has an issue? What happens when they have an issue with other people? Coping mechanisms will tell you a lot about a man, more than asking, oh, so what do you do for fun? And what do you like? No, coping mechanism will tell you more about a man. Coping mechanism. Here's some tips. I'm wrapping up. I told you I won't be long today. I'm wrapping up. Here's some tips. You got to be honest with yourself about how you feel. You see, a lot of people ignore their feelings. If you have a chance to choose you and you refuse to choose you, let me remind you that that man you're choosing is not going to choose you, because the men can see that you don't choose yourself. When you have an opportunity to choose you, choose you. Don't choose other people. And because you didn't choose yourself, guess what? That man will not choose you, because that man already has recognized that you don't put yourself first, that you don't matter. And if you don't matter to you, you're not going to matter to them. Let me just throw that out there. Be honest about how you feel. Tell them this is how I feel. Don't convince yourself. I remember years ago, I was talking to a friend and she said, he's not that bad. Like, he's not like my type, but he's really not that bad. And she said, what do you think? You don't want to ask me, what do you think? Don't ask me what I think until you want to know the truth. Until you might think it's your opinion, it doesn't matter. Don't ask me what I think until you want to talk about the truth of the matter. Because I'm not known to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to say the truth lovingly. I can't sugarcoat it, because I can't lie to you into a relationship that's going to destroy you. Your relationship is going to be like 80% of you ultimately. So you cannot afford to be in any wrong relationship, wrong friends, wrong boyfriends, wrong husband, no, you can't afford it. You cannot. If I learn anything about relationship, you cannot afford to play like gamble with your relationship. You can't gamble. Like, you can gamble for money if you want to, but don't gamble on your relationship. Like, don't do it, because your relationship is going to become the basis upon which everything is built. Everything else will flow out of your relationship. You see how the Bible says, guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Because your heart literally is your compass. It guides which way you're going to go. So the reason you have to guard your heart is because if you end up in the wrong relationship, your heart will not be guarded. You'll be vulnerable, you'll be broken, you'll be hurt. And when you're hurt, life cannot flow. This is for someone. When you are hurt, life cannot flow. Life, out of your belly flows rivers, right, of living water. So out of your belly flows life. Prophecy flows, gift of tongues flow, good things. Life flows out of your tummy, out of your belly, like it flows into your heart. Out of the abundance of the heart does the mouth speak. The things that you say are coming from your heart. I don't know what's in your heart, but when you speak, I know what you're harboring in the inside. So people talk, and they talk out of pain. So one of the things I tell people, don't raise your children out of the pain of your past. If you're not careful, you will raise the children based on the pain you endured. So don't raise them out of the pain of your past. When you're hurt, life cannot flow. That is a quote for you. Make sure you make that a quote. When you're hurt, life cannot flow. Life ceases. When you're in a bad relationship, just horrible, someone who won't let you breathe. It doesn't even have to be abusive. It just has to be someone who just smothers you. Life cannot flow. You cannot be creative. You cannot think. You cannot write. You cannot do anything positive. So when you are hurt, life cannot flow. Be honest with yourself. Any relationship, you have a friend, she's just overbearing, and you're like, but we've been friends for 20 years. Be honest with your relationship. It's not about the length of time. It's about the fact that this relationship has been useless for 20 years and you don't know what to do. Be honest with yourself. In the book of Shakespeare wrote, in, I believe it's in Hamlet. In Hamlet, Shakespeare wrote, above all, to thine own self be true. I want to say it was Mercutio. I'm trying to remember the name of the author, the name of the character. He was going to France, and his father told him, you can lie to other people, but above all, to thine own self be true. You have to be true to yourself. How you feel, you have to be true to yourself. You can lie to people around you, but you yourself, you have to acknowledge your emotions regarding a relationship. Trust your intuition. What your mind is telling you, that it's like, these are thermometers, like your instincts, your intuition, whatever your heart is telling you is what it is. So you have to trust it. Now, when you've been put down a lot, you don't trust yourself. You don't trust yourself to make decisions. I have people always asking me, wait, what should I do? What should I do? Because they've been told what to do for so long, they don't know how to do anything without somebody telling them to do. So the voice they hear is the voice of other people. They don't trust their own voice because they cannot recognize their voice in the midst of adversity. That message will preach. They can't recognize their own voice in the midst of any situation. So they seek out the voice of other people. They can't trust themselves. Trust your intuition. If something feels dangerous, it's dangerous. If something feels bad, then it's bad. Trust your intuition. Talk to people you trust. Talk to your friends and family about your concerns. They can offer you support and perspective. Talk to other people. Talk to them. Go to a family member and say, hey, look, this is what's going on with my relationship. I don't know. What do you think about that? Because there's a place where you get clouded. Things get blurry. Like, this happened. I'm not too sure. Talk to loved ones. Seek some kind of advice. Someone you respect. Not everybody should hear your story, but there are people that can give you wise counsel. Because there is safety in the multitude of counsel. There is safety. Where everybody is saying, this is bad, you're not safe. You're not safe. Educate yourself about red flags. What are red flags? A lot of us, we leave one relationship, we jump into the next one. We don't look at the red flags that were in that other relationship. You need to look at the red flags that were in that other relationship before you go to the next one. The reason why people that are abused go from relationship to relationship, the same kind of guy, different name, is because they have not sat down to see what are the red flags I'm missing. You have to look for the red flags and react accordingly. But if you keep missing them, if you're seeing them and your partner doesn't want to change, don't be afraid to end the relationship. Just don't be afraid. Once you educate yourself about red flags and now you can recognize head on, this is no good. I can smell that this relationship is bad. Even if it's a friendship, there are friends that are just bad for you. They put you down, they compare themselves to you, they are just mean, they are rude. Friends like that, that's a red flag. They will betray you, they will talk you down. That's a red flag. What you need to do is make sure that you don't sit there for the friend to do what they're doing. You set boundaries or you walk away. If they don't want to respect those boundaries, you walk away. You deserve to be in a healthy relationship. Healthy relationship with yourself, healthy relationship spiritually, healthy relationship with others. One of the relationships that can be so straining for women is the romantic relationships. You know, the boyfriend, the marriage, those relationships can be very tasking for women. So tonight, I'm done. I wanted to give you these quick tips about watching out for red flags, because the red flags, because you ignore them, doesn't mean they go away. They don't go away. The red flags still remain. They remain. All right. If you are here and you're joining us tonight, know that we have a Women of Value mentorship program. It's free. We meet on Zoom every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern as well. We have 2 meetings, one in Africa, one here. And so the GMT meeting, you can also attend if you are in a country like UK. You know, we have some people in UK who go along with the African timing. So like the 9 p.m. is working, is like the same time zone. And so the 5 p.m. is for those people that are in the UK and also in parts of Africa. And then the 7 p.m., most of these people live in America. But we have a couple of people from Africa that also joined the 7 p.m. meeting. So be true to yourself. That's it. Any questions? Anything, any comments? You deserve to be happy. You need fulfilling relationships. So when you see red flags, don't ignore them. Take action, protect yourself and your well-being, because nobody else is going to come and protect you. You are your first line of defense. You can use that as an affirmation. I am my first line of defense. As a woman, you protect yourself. As a girl, you protect yourself. Your safety is paramount. Your safety is in your hands as a woman. So you don't expose yourself in situations that can be very risky and dangerous. And I talked about a few relationships where I talked about how someone was trying, in my book, I talk about this, Who She Is on Amazon, where I talk about somebody was trying to have their way with me. It took discernment to know that was the intent and for me to walk away. It took discernment. So you have to discern what's around you. You have to discern the danger that you're around. Anytime you're in a situationship or a relationship, make sure you are aware of what's on the table. Don't keep hoping things will change. Things don't change until the person chooses to change. And in bad situations, those people don't think they have to change. They end up blaming you. So know that your purpose always comes first. Relationship is great, but your purpose is the most important thing. After that, relationship. Because even within relationship, you have to fulfill purpose. How do you do that? So make sure you find yourself before you engage with somebody. Find yourself before marriage. Find yourself before that boyfriend. Find yourself. Become who you're meant to be before you try to connect with somebody. Because it only works when it works for you and works for the other person. You know, you can't connect and say that's the answer to all your woes. There's no such thing. The answer to your problem cannot be your relationship. It cannot be your relationship. So make sure you also take care of yourself. So I'm done for the night. You are blessed and highly favored. And I pray that you are able to join us next week or join us tomorrow for the mentorship. If you didn't watch, go ahead and watch the replay and you shall be blessed. Good night.